Hello. So it's a nice calm day at last. Been waiting for a calm day. It's been weeks of high wind and rain and sleet. And there might be a little bit of wind noise on the mic this morning because I can feel the wind at my back a little bit. So welcome to everybody that found their way here through the last video. Thank you for commenting. It means a lot to me because it helps me dig as deep as I can to clarify my own thoughts and feelings as I go through this process. And it helps me. It helps me to know this means something to others. And thank you to those that donated as well. Thank you very much. So, something miraculous has happened lately. Something I never thought possible in my own healing. And I'm going to do my best to share it. I think when we're born into adult complexity, we don't have the capacity to understand anything. And when we're swimming in an emotional sea of resentment, contempt, guilt, shame, derision, ridicule, those emotions plant a seed inside us, and that seed grows into an entity, a parasitic entity that we then share our lives with in a battle for stability and peace. And it speaks to us with cruelty and self-hate, feeding off our pain. Eckhart Tolle wrote about it in A New Earth, which I recommend reading. And it's very difficult to silence that voice, to cleanse yourself of that parasite. But it's happening. When I was young, I had shame of the inherited shame of what I was born into. I had the shame of the child that blames itself for everything that's going on. And I had the compound shame of the awareness that I was different, because my earliest memories were of a sense of corruption, a sense that I was wrong. And so I protected myself, I was isolated, I was hypersexual from my earliest memories. And I knew that that was wrong. I manipulated. There was a dark distortion in my psyche because I'd known only fear. And I hated myself for that. I hated myself. But we have to protect ourselves from those feelings. So you pretend, you build a story about who you are. And you build a story about the world, because you have to reduce and simplify and rationalize and make sense of that complexity just to survive. And so you build a story. That story is certain. It's fixed. It doesn't change. And then you try and take that changeless space of stability through life. And it doesn't work, because there is already a reality. And so that reality misses you. Your absence is noted. And so it will come and find you. And it will push and push and push and push against your realm of certainty, your story, the ideas of who you think you are. And it will push and push and push, and you will push back and push back and push back just to maintain stability. And eventually it will crash. You will crumble and shatter. And there you are, naked. Naked. So for me, that happened not too long ago. And I had no tools. I didn't know how to change, because I'd always tried to hold on so tightly to that certainty of who I was. But when nothing worked anymore, no tools worked, no loops of behaviour, nothing worked anymore, there was just me standing there. And all those loops of behaviour and the certainty was there to protect me from actually feeling everything I couldn't feel before. Because where is your attention? In the loops of behaviour that keep us going back and forth, so we don't have to feel anything else. So I began to feel. And what I felt was grief. Unimaginable grief. Sorrow, sadness, heartbreak. But the grief was the worst, I think. I felt like I was being crushed under a great weight, and the tears that came were the hardest tears I've ever cried. They stung. Because it was the grief at the loss of everything. It was the loss of illusion, the protection of the world that I created in my mind, the ideas of who I thought I was. It was the grief at the loss of love, of tenderness, of kindness. It was the grief at the loss of what should have been. It was the grief at the loss of a place in the world, a place that was taken. Most of all, it was the grief at the loss of the truth of who I should have been, my authentic self. Because when we're born into trauma and we center ourselves and we say it's my fault, it's a way of taking control. It's the only way to take control in a situation where you're powerless. You say, it's my fault. It's my fault, because you want to love and you have to rationalise what's going on. You say, it's my fault. And then, anchored in that first moment of sense-making of the child, is every second of the rest of your life where you are apologising for your existence. Self-hate, self-cruelty, self-harm, abuse, coping. Never really inhabiting yourself without apology and saying, here I am, and it's okay to be me. And the grief when you see all that is devastating. But then I felt something else. And it's a gradual dawning knowing. And it is the heartbreak at betrayal. And the clear seeing that nothing you do as a child, nothing you are invites abuse and neglect. Nothing. You are innocent. You are innocent. And when I saw that, I was heartbroken, because I had blamed myself my whole life. I had rationalised by making excuses, trying to keep loving, trying to make it work, because I wanted to love. I needed to love. And that need for intimacy had compromised my entire life. And that was devastating, because it wasn't me at all. Never was. In the decades I spent crawling through the debris of my own hopelessness on my hands and knees, 20 years as a functioning addict. Self-harm, eating disorders, broken relationships, abuse, allowing myself to be abused, over and over again. For what? For what? For what? Tenderness. Tenderness. The absence of tenderness. The absence of being welcomed into existence, and it's saying, here you are, here's your place. But the light of that innocence is cleansing, because it's the light of truth. And the truth that you have a place, you've always had a place. The world wants you here. Each one of us, I think I've said in a previous video, each one of us is special. We're not special because everybody's special. We are unique though, and each one of us is unique and vital in that uniqueness. And the world misses us, it wants you in it. And so when you start to inhabit yourself in the light of your own innocence and say, this is me, I am here, I am here, then you can be found. Then you can be found. The world comes to find you, it supports you, and that longing for intimacy and to be known, your truth, your authentic self to be known, then it begins. Because you've never been authentic. We've always been protecting ourselves and doing something and performing and manipulating. That's not it. Everything has to fall away, and then you are here. And then you can be known, and you can be seen, and intimacy can begin, because we belong in relationship. That is where we find the nourishment and meaning of our existence, in the well-being of others, in the shared experience of the joy and pain of life. That's where we belong. And there is our place. There is fearlessness. There is the discovery. There is where it begins. And that's just starting to happen for me. And so the decades of abuse that are at my own hand, as I became my own abuser in self-hate, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't. Because this threshold is a birthing. It's a birthing into life. And this is where it begins. So no one's going to do this for you. No one. You have to do it. No one's going to do it for you. You have to be brave. You have to begin to make small changes. Challenge who you think you are. Break the pattern that protects you. Break the pattern. And magical things will start happening. The world will start working with you because it wants you to participate. So, when I started this channel, I wanted to help people, but I had no idea that I would need to help myself first, and I didn't have any clue what that would involve, what I would have to go through before I would actually get to this point where I can say, this isn't about me anymore. It's not. I've explored the wound that defined my life, and I found a person there, a person that developed as a consequence of that childhood wounding. But these stories and experiences belong to that person. And I don't want to talk about that anymore, not in the same way anyway. I want to talk about crossing the threshold into life. So, I offer these videos as a way of helping other people, but I would like to do that more directly now. Now, I'm not a counsellor. I'm not a therapist. So, I offer myself if you need to talk, and maybe I can say something useful. I already talk to people on Zoom who've watched a video and they reach out and think I might be able to share something. And maybe I can. But if you are in a bad way, you need to have a counsellor or a therapist, because you do need a guide. But maybe I can say something helpful as well. So if you need to talk, I'm here. That's just what I wanted to say. And I've been waiting weeks to say this. So, and the sun is coming out. It's not always grey here. So, be kind to yourselves, because that is where it begins. Be kind to yourself. And then gradually self-esteem comes, valuing your existence, and then love. So, I hope all that made sense. And I'll see you soon. Bye.